Hey everybody, it's me Stacy here at Scrapbooking Made Simple with another YouTube demo for you today. But first off, I want to say a big thank you to all of you out there who posted comments or sent me emails about my last YouTube, which had to do with the Vagabond machine and the do's and the don'ts. It means a lot to me that you all took that time to like I said, post a comment or to send me an email. Thank you so much. I read every single one of them. I try to reply to every single one of them, and it really touched me. You never know who's watching out there, so to get a comment and the feedback the way I did, it was just really amazing, and I wanted to say a big thank you to all of you for that. You gave me something back, so that was really kind of you. Thank you. All right, for today, I'm going to be working with Heartfelt Creations. We're going to be playing with their new dies and their new stamp sets. We're going to be playing with vellum. I have got Brilliance Inks by Sukaniko. I have got our trusty dusty watercolor pencils because I think they're fabulous and I want to show you another technique with them. And we're going to get started for the day, so I am going to go ahead and I am going to tilt on down. Okay, down we go. Bye. All right, how's that? Oh, it looks pretty good to me. Let me just slide all of that up. All right, what do we have for you today? We have got Heartfelt Creations and their new die set, which is Tattered Blossoms, and their new stamp collection, which is part of the English Garden collection. Now, Heartfelt Creations dies are made by Spellbinders. So technically they're a Spellbinder die, but sold under the brand of Heartfelt Creation. So they work exactly like your typical Spellbinder dies. They are a wafer thin die, and the die cutting edge is in between the two edges, the outer edge and the inside edge. So that little lip there is what's going to die cut your paper or your foam or your vellum. Yeah, I know it's hard to believe that something so thin can cut paper, but it absolutely can. With the die set, you get the 5 different set of flowers, and then they have, of course, the coordinating stamps that go on top of them, along with a whole bunch of other stamps, which I'll show you later. But these fit right on top of the actual die. So you can line it up and you can stamp right on top of your paper or your vellum or your foam or whatever you're using to get the dimension of the flower, the depth of the flower, and then you can go back in and you can color it. We're going to be working with Brilliance Inks today by Sukaniko, and people ask, why do I like Sukaniko so much? I like their inks because they carry the brand Memento, they carry the brand StazOn, they carry the brand Brilliance. I like them because they're an ink company. My dad always taught me that you try and buy from a company that focuses on a certain product, on that product. If a company does too many things, they can't really focus in on anything really great. And Sukaniko really does inks well. That's their main line. That's what they really focus on. So why would you buy a car from a company that really sells boats? Why would you buy inks from a company that it's just not what they do? Maybe they're more paper related. So how can they focus on ink and really become a master of inks? So that's why I like Sukaniko products. I have to say that we do carry lots of other inks in the store, absolutely. But if I have to grab something really quick, it's generally going to be a Memento ink or a Sukaniko ink or a StazOn. And I love the Brilliance. What makes the Brilliance different? Well, these are pigment inks. Now, if you watched my other YouTube, the CDPs of chalk, or of inks, I'm sorry, the CDPs of ink, you've got chalk, which dries the fastest, dye, which dries the second fastest, and then P for pigment, which takes a much longer time to dry. The Brilliance inks are fast-drying pigments, so it doesn't take nearly the length of time. And they're also pearlescent and metallic, and they're just gorgeous. You will find that most of your pearlescent or metallic inks out there are a pigment ink, but the Sukaniko is fast-drying. So where a pigment ink might take substantially longer with another brand, it just takes a few minutes to dry with the Brilliance brand. And if you really want to, you absolutely can pull your heat tool out and heat set it. So I'm going to get started doing the demo for today because I really like what we're working with, and I want to show you what we're going to be doing. All right, so that's out of the way. Now, we have taken flowers out of vellum. We die cut these out of vellum, and I've got the die right here. and I will show you how to do that real quick. Now, oh, fire trucks. Sorry about that, guys. Now, as you know, we like our Sizzix Big Shot machine, and because it's the machine that just does absolutely everything. And if you have the multi-purpose platform, hold on to it. I understand these are discontinued, so try to be gentle with it and keep it forever. We're going to be doing a wafer die, which means that we're going to keep our platform completely closed. And then we're going to set down our do not cut plate. Remember, we do not cut on the bottom plate. This always leaves us a very nice working surface, flat and easy to roll in and out. I'm going to take a piece of vellum, and any vellum will do. It's just a nice piece of vellum. Any vellum will do. I'm going to put my die down. I'm going to put my vellum down. And then, because we're using the Big Shot, I'm going to put another clear plate on top. Now, if I were using a Vagabond machine, just quickly, the sandwich would be your XL plate or platform that it came with, and then you absolutely would need to have the Solo thin shim adapter. You would need to have this as well. This would be what you would need. Then you would put your clear plate and your die and your paper and your other clear plate. But you cannot do spellbinder dies in a Vagabond or in a big, in a Big Shot for that matter, if you're using this XL platform, without having that Solo shim. So I just want to let everybody know, if you're using your Vagabond, you need to have that Solo thin die adapter to go with that sandwich. So now I've got it all here, and I'm going to run it on through. Easy peasy. And my die is cut. Out we go. Ooh, there we go. My die's cut. Super easy to cut a spellbinder die in your Vagabond or your Big Shot machine. Now that I've got the die cut, what do I want to do with it? Well, Heartfelt Creations, which is what they're really known for, is their stamps, have made the coordinating stamps. And I've got one here on a block. I've got my Tim Holtz grid block, because you know I like the Tim Holtz grid blocks. They're really thin. They've got the grid lines for you to line things up. Makes it easy for me. Now there's two schools of thought on this, and I'm going to tell you both of them, and then you can decide which one works best for you. Because we do a make and take every week, we cut out lots and lots and lots of pieces before our customers stamp on them. Therefore, for me, it's easier to go ahead and take the die cut image, have my stamp, ink up my stamp, and then line it up to the stamp here. Take my die cut and line it up to the stamp. And I'm just looking for a groove that I can find that will correlate. There we go. I'm all lined up. For me, that's easier. And what I would do is I would take my Brilliance inks. I would ink them up. Now the Brilliance inks, because we're using the pearlescent, they're just beautiful. They're shimmery and shiny and happy and luscious. I wish I could. I don't know if the camera's going to get how amazing they are, and they are very juicy. A little goes a long way. So I've got that there. I'm going to line it up with my groove. And what I've done is I've taken this little groove right here. See that little groove right there? And I found the same little groove in the stamp. And I'm going to line it up with that. I'm going to lay it down, and then I'm just going to take a platform from my Sizzix machine. You could take another block, you could take whatever you want, but something clear is nice. I'm going to put it right down on top, give a press, and pull up. And I have now stamped the image onto my vellum. Now, because this is a fast-drying pigment ink, I just need to let this sit for a few minutes and it will dry. But if you're in a rush and you don't have a few minutes, you can absolutely take your heat tool, and We like the heated tool by Ranger, and you could heat it dry. Won't take very long at all. I mean, just a few seconds. It really dries very quickly. And people want to know why I like the heated tool so much. It's because the heat comes out very precise, direct, and I could have embossing powder sitting right here and be reheating right here, and it won't even blow any of that embossing powder. So we like how quiet it is. We like that the heat is very direct and that you can have other things around you and it doesn't blow everything out of the way. So I've got that. I have now put my image right on. It's just that simple. For me, that's easier. Now there is another technique. You absolutely could take, and let's do it up again. Let's ink it up again with our Brilliance inks. And what makes the Brilliance just so beautiful is the pearlescence and the metallics that they have. I haven't found other inks that have the pearlescence and the brilliance that that Brilliance has. They're just absolutely beautiful. And I love the memento size, or the dewdrop size. I'm sorry, I love the dewdrop size. And people say, why do you like that size so much? Well, for me, this is a good size because it's economical. I'm not going to be going and grabbing my Brilliance inks every day like I do my Memento Tuxedo Black pad. We use that every single day. So I want a full-size pad in that. This size gives me all of the wonderful colors in a price that's so affordable. They're $2.70 as opposed to a full-size pad, which is going to be quite a bit more. I have a huge range of colors to choose from, and because I don't use them every single day, I don't necessarily need that full-size pad. I would rather have 6 or 7 colors of these than maybe 2 or 3 full-size pads. And then if there is a color that you find yourself going to repeatedly again and again, like maybe the gold or the moonlight or whatever, then you can get that in the full-size pad. But for me in the beginning, I'd rather have more colors available to me since I'm not going to be using them every single day than perhaps a full-size pad. So that's my thought on it. Now I've gone ahead and I have inked it up and I'm going to stamp it. Give it a good push. Pull up. And I have got my stamped image. So you can even see that shimmer in there, can't you? They're really pretty. I really like them. Now, what you could do, assume I let this dry, is that you can take a stencil. I have taken the die and I have die cut out the center piece, and I'm going to use this as my stencil. Now, I could take this and line it up to my stamp. Line it up to my stamp. Take my die, put it over the top. Tape it down, and then run the whole thing through my die cut machine. So I would just take a little piece of tape. Let me grab a little piece of tape. I would tape down my die to my stencil, just like that. And then I would use a little piece of tape or a little piece of Post-it note and tape there. And then I would run it through my die cut machine. Not sure I have it completely lined up perfectly, but then I would just take it and again put it on my plate, make my sandwich, and run it through and die cut it. It's up to you how you're more comfortable doing it. Either way is going to work fine for you. Either way will work. It kind of depends if you've stamped first or if you've die cut first. If you've stamped first, then of course lining it up here is going to be far more easier. Lining it up and then putting your die and then sending it through. But if you've die cut first, which is what we tend to do, it's easier for me to take the stamp and line this up on a stamp. and do it that way. There's no right, there's no wrong. As long as you get the image on, that's what you're looking for. Okay? So you've got two different ways of transferring that stamped image onto a die cut, or die cutting the image you've already stamped. All right. So now I want to show you about these Brilliance inks because they are a pigment-based ink. What else you can do with them. Now I've got my die here, and I guess we're just going to continue to use the purple, pearlescent purple, and I'm going to ink it up again. And because it's on vellum and because it's a pigment ink, we all remember pigment inks are what you use when you are going to use embossing powder. We've got the Zing embossing powder here. This is the clear embossing powder. Now, something about embossing powders, they come in a lot of colors. They really do. There's a lot of colors out there. But there's more colors of pigment ink out there than there is embossing powder. I know Color Box makes lots of pigment inks. Sukaniko makes lots of pigment inks. There's lots of colors. I think that it's easier to find the color ink you want and cover it with a clear embossing powder than to try and find an embossing powder that matches what you're doing. I also think it's more affordable. Again, if you find a Cat's Eye or one of the dewdrop size Sukaniko inks, they're $2, $2.10. This one's $2.70 because it's a Brilliance, versus buying bottle after bottle after bottle of your embossing powder. Do I think you should have a black embossing powder? Yes. I think you should have a white embossing powder, and I think you should have a clear embossing powder. And if you really want to, gold and silver are great too. But I like having the ink because I have far more choices. So I've inked up, and I'm going to, again, find a little groove. That I've got the little groove right here, and I'm going to line that up with my stamp. Not that one. Let's see. There we go. I'm going to line that up with my stamp. Press it down. Take a clear plate, whatever, something clear, another block. Press it down. And for me, pull up. And it's done. Now, because it's still wet and because it's a pigment ink, I'm going to take my embossing powder and I'm just going to drizzle. I'm a dumper, I know. I just dump it all over, but it all goes back into your pot, so for me it's okay. I have now covered it with clear embossing powder. And then I would take my heat tool and I would heat set it. And you would see that clear embossing powder melt away and leave you a nice, beautiful raised image with the purple coming through. So I have got some samples here that we've done. This one we've done in blue. And can you see where the clear embossing powder is? You get that high gloss finish. But it's the blue ink that we use that comes through. I've also got it in the beautiful poppy red. Love that color. And again, it's been embossed. So you've got a high gloss finish. Pretty, isn't it? Really, really pretty. And that gives you another use for your inks. Let's just dump this back. Now vellum it's not non-porous and it's not porous. It's kind of in between. So it's not like a paper where the ink just readily absorbs in, but it's not like a metal or a foil where the ink won't absorb in at all. So you can use other inks with the vellum. I just really like the effect you get with that Brilliance. Here's a purple one that's been embossed. Can you see how shiny it is? How beautiful? And the opalescence and the pearlescence and the metallics that come through on the Brilliance is really nice. Okay, I wanted to show you a few other things that you can do. Now remember, in the past we've used our watercolor pencils. Okay, we took the silver. Is that platinum? We took the silver. Where's silver? Oh, we took the silver, Starlight Silver, and we stamped it and we embossed it. Then I took my watercolor pencils. That we've used, the Essentials watercolor pencils. Very inexpensive. You get 24 for $13.99. And I really like using these with this because the watercolor pencils keep the vellum translucent. It doesn't cover it all the way up. It doesn't make the flower opaque. It keeps it translucent. And it's really easy to do. You want to keep your paintbrush kind of dry, not too wet. I'm using just a mini mister to get my paintbrush wet. Just a little bit of wet. And this time, as opposed to coloring straight on, I'm going to take my paintbrush and go to the tip of my pencil. And I'm going to grab some of that color. And then, oh, let's get it a little wetter than that. Okay, get some color from the tip of my pencil, and I'm going to paint it on. And I'm going to grab that yellow, and I'm blending color. I'm doing tip blending. I'm going to grab some of that yellow and put that yellow right in there. And grab some more of that pink. And paint that pink right on. Now you might be asking, why am I not coloring directly onto the flower? Well, because I don't want to lose the embossing. I don't want to take that embossing and chip it off by coloring straight on. And this allows you to do beautiful blending. And a little bit of yellow. Let's get our paintbrush a little bit wet again. A little bit more yellow. There we go. You just get a beautiful, beautiful look. And because it's water, it dries really quick. Can you see how it's kept it translucent? It kept the vellum translucent. It didn't cover it up all the way. I love using the watercolor pencils on the vellum. I think it's just gorgeous and really simple to do. But this time, as opposed to coloring straight to your vellum, because we've done the embossing, you're going to take it from the tip. Now, if we had a plain piece of vellum, you absolutely could then just go in and color away and blend out. I don't know if my paintbrush is wet enough. Let's get you a little wetter. But because we have the embossing, I don't want to do that. But you could go in and get it all and blend away. I like it with the embossing because, of course, you get all the fine lines and the definition of the flower. Really pretty. Now, what else can you do with the vellum? Well, of course, we've got our Brilliance, and you can just stamp the Brilliance. And I've got some samples here where it is just stamped. You can just stamp with the Brilliance. Oh, that's good. Can you see that beautiful pearlescence on there? You can just stamp with it and let it dry, or you can stamp with it and put a clear embossing powder over it to give a little more definition and that high gloss finish. You can use the watercolors with the vellum. You can also take your Copic markers and you can absolutely color in the vellum. This is going to give you a slightly more opaque look though when you play with your Copic markers on the vellum, but it will dry very quickly and give you a beautiful finish, but it will leave more of an opaque look to the vellum. Okay? All right, what do we have next for you? I do want to show you some samples that we've done. Where we've used, this is just the flower, die cut out, stamped, and that is with the Brilliance silver. Cute card, huh? And here we've used one of the new backgrounds that also is part of that collection. So this background are those dots right there. Okay, then we have this card here where we've die cut out the flowers and we've used the copper brilliance. And then this background here is also part of the collection. It's this background right here. Very pretty. Oh, and the sentiment too. All the sentiments that we're using also are part of the collection. Just thinking about you, have a beautiful day, best wishes today and always. They're beautiful sentiments and they look gorgeous on the cards. Here we have another. And all of these were done with the Brilliance inks, the vellum, the Heartfelt Creations dies, and the Heartfelt Creations stamps. Aren't they lovely? We've used the backgrounds, we've used the sentiments, we've used the stamps, the flowers. Let's see, here's one that has been embossed. So we took and we stamped the ink onto the flower and then we put clear embossing powder over the top. And again, here's the background that goes with this set. Doesn't that background look so different when you actually stamp it? Okay, let's see what else we've got here. Here's another one that's been embossed. I'll show you the whole card. And then the embossing. All right, and then part of the collection also is the teacups here. And for those of you who already have Spellbinders nested teacups, this stamp set goes with the nested teacups. Now the nested teacups were introduced a while ago, so they've been out for a little bit, but the stamp set to match it is brand new. Brand new. So I wanted to let you know that these two do work together, and I have got a couple samples for you that Yvette did using the teacup and the stamps. And then here we've got a large teacup that she did, and she did it in the gold, and then she put the embossing powder over the top, and we've got a nice raised finish on that. A nice raised finish. Okay, so quick review. What did we learn today? We have learned that Heartfelt Creations has the new dies. They're called Tattered Blossoms, and they have the coordinating stamps to go with them. We learned that there's actually 2 ways of getting these two to work together. You can die cut first and then line up your die, put it down, take some kind of a clear plate or a clear block, put it on top and press down, and that will get you a beautiful impression. Or you can stamp first. Let's bring that back over. You can stamp your impression first, have your die all lined up on your paper, tape it down, and then line it up to your stamp. Tape that down because you don't want it to move, and then run it through your Big Shot machine or your Vagabond. Either way, no matter how you do it, you're going to get a beautiful result. It just depends upon if you're stamping first or if you're die cutting first. Either way is going to be great, but that gives you 2 options of how to get these 2 products to work together. Okay, we use the Brilliance inks. They're a pigment ink, so they take longer to dry than a chalk or a dye, but these are a fast-drying pigment ink, and most pigment inks have a pearlescent, or a lot of pigment inks have a pearlescent or a metallic finish, and that's what the Brilliance has, a beautiful metallic or pearlescent finish. Whether you emboss over the top of it or not, it's just a gorgeous ink. And I like this size because they're very economical. You can have a whole collection of them very easily without spending too much money versus having just full-size pads and everything. I don't know that you need a full-size pad in this. I think that the dewdrop sizes are probably better unless you find that you're using a color all the time. Then you would want to go ahead and get yourself a full-size pad. If you are working on invitations and you need 200 invitations, yeah, the dewdrop size isn't going to work for you. Get a full-size pad. But if you're just making cards and not doing something mass production, go ahead and get the dewdrop size. They're $2.70. Save yourself some money so you can have more colors. We talked about how you can take the vellum with your watercolor pencils, and I know a lot of you have these already, and just go in there and just make beautiful flowers. And it dries very quickly because it's water. The water dries very fast, and we did go ahead and we did emboss first, and we went with a tip to vellum application as opposed to coloring straight on, because I don't want to remove that embossing. I want that embossing to stay there. Okay, you can use other inks. You would probably want to heat set them because they may take a little time to dry, and Copics will just be beautiful on here, but again, they're going to be more, depending on the color you use, more opaque. And I don't know if they're easy to blend on a vellum or not, but I think that what you get out of the watercolor pencil is a far more natural look than using your Copics. But try, all you can do is play. Okay, we have got, let's see, we've got the stamp set that goes with the collection. This one, ooh, the background. The pot. The actual flowers, and if you get the die, you want to have the coordinating flowers. The sentiments, and the beautiful background. All of these are heartfelt creations. They are rubber, they're cling, they'll go right to your Tim Holtz grid block or whatever block you're choosing to use, and I think you'll be really happy with them. Where are you going to buy all of these wonderful products? Well, you're going to buy them at scrapbooking-made-simple.com, and they will be on sale for 1 week past the original air date of this YouTube. I'm going to just quickly show you just a few more samples just because we have them and I like them. And we've got one more sample for you. And this one. These are actually what we did for our make and take last week. So we had everybody come in and do this. I'm gonna tilt on up and I'm gonna say, hey, it's Stacy at Scrapbooking Made Simple. Thank you for joining me today. I hope I showed you something new. And again, where are you gonna get all these great products? You're gonna get them at Scrapbooking, www.scrapbooking-made-simple.com. All right, you guys, have a great week, and I will see you next week when we have a whole new YouTube for you. All right, take care. Bye-bye.